Hello, students and educators. We are so excited to have you join us for Career Exposure Week. My name is Chelsea Hunt. I am the Executive Director of Work-Based Learning and Industry Engagement at the State Department, and I will be your moderator for this session. We will hear from our guest speaker, Ron Morris, Electrical Field Investigators Supervisor at Oklahoma Construction Industries Board, and then we will have a Q&A session that I will help field any questions to Ron. Please use your chat box or your microphone to ask him any questions. This session will be recorded and we will be housed within the 2020 Oklahoma Career Exposure Week online module. Also, we will send out the links to the recorded sessions to everyone who registered and via our agency newsletters. Please join me in welcoming Ron Morris, Electrical Field Investigator Supervisor at Oklahoma Construction Industries Board.
Thank you, Chelsea. Welcome everybody to this session of the Oklahoma Career Exposure Week. Again, my name is Ron Morris. I am with the State of Oklahoma's Construction Industries Board. I am the Electrical Section Field Supervisor. I'm also a Chief Inspector for the State of Oklahoma, Electrical Inspector. So the purpose today is I want to let everybody kind of know that might be interested in the electrical field. That's what I'm going to talk to you about today. You know, as we all know, electricity is very important in our day-to-day lives. I mean, we use it in everything we do. And, you know, really, when you think about it, you would probably ask yourself, what would you do without it? There's so many things that we use in our day-to-day life that deal with electricity and are powered by electricity, like your lights, your heating, air conditioning, your TV, your computers, you know, the Wi-Fi that you get on wherever you might go. You have to use it to charge your cell phones, and, you know, we're using it to charge cars, things like that nowadays. So, you know, it's really important. And I'm here to just kind of tell you how I originally got into the electrical trade. I was first introduced to electrical between my freshman and sophomore years in high school. Career Techs at the time put on a program between the summer months where we could go and we could choose maybe from about 4 or 5 different categories or career options that we were interested in. And we would try to see something that would fit. So as I went through those particular programs, I looked at some things like aerospace mechanic. I looked at some other things like photography, but I did one on electrical. And that one really intrigued me because I think after I went through that particular class, I was able to really get a sense of when I walked into my bedroom and flipped that light switch on, or when I turned on the stereo, you know, to listen to some music in my room. It made me more aware of the walls, what's behind the walls, what connected everything, so that I could power those devices up. And so it really piqued my interest and got me interested in it. What I do like about the electrical field is electrical field has so many diverse areas that you can go into, you know, particular jobs that you can be involved with if you have an understanding and knowledge and are trained in electrical. Electrical jobs will range from everything from the power lines that you see, distribution, electrical generation. They also include working in, you know, power plants that generate the power. Sometimes that might be, you know, water, you know, falls where they have those water generators that produce electricity. It can be just if you simply want to wire houses, you want to wire buildings. If you want to get involved in solar photovoltaic systems and set up some these new green energy sources, windmills, you guys see those probably all over the countryside. And the windmills are also part of being involved in the electrical industry because they generate electricity for use by consumers. We're also getting into more and more technologically advanced things that even helps more in that diverse part, and we're having power over the Ethernet. That's going to be that's an emerging technology where they utilize something just like a small patch cord, like you would see for use for a telephone, where you can plug that in and they can power up LED lighting systems, maybe for a whole classroom or something like that. So There's a lot of very interesting things, in everyday life, that you don't even think about. Even the airport, when you go to the airport, there's electrical that's involved there to get those taxiway lights and runway lighting, things like that, navigate so that those airplanes can come and go. So there's a whole diverse area of avenues that you can take if you're involved in the electrical industry. And that's really kind of what I like about it. It's if you get into something and you want to take just a little different direction, you can work yourself toward that. And it's a really good a trade to get into. As far as there's some education and training that you have to complete in order to become a licensed electrician. For example, in the state of Oklahoma, and a lot of states are going to follow suit with this. But out of those paths, there's a few particular ones that you can take that are kind of the main ones. If you want to obtain licensure to become a journeyman electrician or later a contractor, you can first obtain your experience. Let's say if you choose to join the military and you're in the military and you get in a career path that has to do with electrical. The state of Oklahoma recognizes all of your time while you're in the military working in that particular trade area as an electrician. We'll recognize that time toward licensure here in the state of Oklahoma. So that's one method you can use. Another method would be a combination of education and work experience. So you could attend a career tech program where you could gain experience in classroom time, get some of that, knowledge by going to school and having some hands-on there. But then you could also go out later and you could work for an actual electrical contractor. So that's another option. Some people, they just decide that they want to get into it and they may go to work for an electrical contractor and obtain all their experience through on-the-job training. And here in the state of Oklahoma, one thing that is very important is if you choose to go that route, anytime you try to gain on-the-job experience while working for an electrical contractor, you want to always make sure that you keep the proper apprentice registration here with the state of Oklahoma so that your time will be considered. And any time that you work and then you don't have a current apprentice registration, you won't get credit for that time. But if you're working for a good contractor, those guys will make sure that you've got a card. They'll make sure you get credit because they want you to be a skilled, good worker for them. Now, as far as, my background a little bit, I started out going through a career tech program. At the time they called VOTEC, and I finished that program. Then I went to work as an electrical apprentice for an electrical contractor. I gained that experience that was needed. I submitted the application, tested to become a journeyman, and after obtaining my journeyman's license, I did work for contractors for an additional couple of years, actually trained some apprentices of my own. And then afterwards, I obtained an electrical contractor's license. And I was able to then go ahead and do work. I actually had two electrical contracting businesses, one in the state of New Mexico and one in the state of Colorado. And I really enjoyed it. It gave me that ability to be able to work for myself, go out and get that truck I always wanted. But it was a really good career path for me. I really enjoyed it. And as time went on, I went ahead and decided to move in to the field that I'm in now, where I'm actually more of an inspector and investigator, where we basically look at licensing enforcement here in the state. So the electrical industry has allowed me to move through several phases, and it's been a great career path for me. Now, as far as, like the day-to-day things that you would be looking at if you were going to get involved in the electrical career, an electrician has a lot of activities that they can be involved in. You may be very good at planning or drawing, and you may be, a contractor may want to put you in a position where you're going to be designing electrical systems. Electrical engineers, that's what they do. They design electrical systems. So you may be involved in some planning, some design work, layout of an electrical system in a building or at an industrial plant. A lot of electricians, you deal a lot with bending conduit. So you get to use a variety of tools like conduit benders. You may be running wire. You may be terminating connections in a load center or panel board. So if any of you have ever seen that breaker box in your house, know that an electrician was in there and he pulled all those wires in there and terminated them to make sure that you can get that power from that box to where you plug in your cell phone charger or your computer or whatever. You might be involved in building those switch gears, large switch gears in industrial settings. You could be installing, light switches or plug-ins. You might be troubleshooting circuits. You get to use a wide variety of electrical tools. You may be turning a screwdriver, twisting wires, wire nuts, or using test meters, multimeters to test voltages and troubleshoot whenever there's problems in the electrical system and, things aren't working correctly or whatever. So there's a lot of things that are involved that you can be involved in. Wiring up motors that, help in an industrial facility or oil and gas plants. Motors are involved in the big windmills that you see. Those are actually generators up there, and it's a giant motor that generates electricity. So you can be involved in a lot of different things. It's a very interesting field. So things that you guys learn in the day-to-day classroom, for example, that are going to be some things that are really, probably going to help you out. If you have a fairly good grasp on mathematics, you are required to use a good deal of math in this trade. And just to give you an explanation, if you're pulling a circuit, for example, where you're wanting to power up lights, you need to figure out what the load is on that particular circuit. There's a specific amount of watts that are pulled by each light bulb or each, appliance that you plug in. Maybe it's your toaster in the kitchen or something like that. So those use a particular amount of wattage, and based on how many items are going to be utilized on that circuit, that helps you understand what size wire needs to be pulled and what size breaker that particular circuit needs to be, so that those items, when you go to plug them in and use them, you don't trip the breaker, and lose power. So you do need to have a little bit of math knowledge there. If you're bending conduit, for example, conduits that they use for raceways to run wiring in on commercial and industrial projects, you have to be able to figure out certain bends. If you're going to take a conduit that's going to jump up over an obstruction, you would need to use some math skills to be able to figure out what those radiuses of bends are going to be in order to make that work, make your pipe fit. And of course, anybody that has a little bit of a good understanding of science and what makes a good conductor of electricity and a not so good conductor of electricity, that's always something that's good to remember as well, because you don't want to be grabbing a hold of something while you're in a panel board that's going to be a good conductor, because you may just get shocked. So you kind of want to know those things as well. As far as getting into this, there again, like I said, something about the electrical industry, something you want to keep in mind. We're seeing more and more emerging technologies that are coming out. You guys see them. You're aware of them. There's, more and more we're seeing electric cars. We're seeing, the more use of green technology options like windmills and solar panels. There's actually been a new section to the National Electric Code that was just added in the last code cycle. It's a whole new section on battery storage systems. So we're getting more and more to where electricity is being used and they're storing it in battery systems, so that if power is lost, sometimes some facilities can go up to a week off those batteries without actually having to be tied into the grid in case there was some type of a disaster that happened. So we're seeing a lot of emerging technologies. Again, the power over the Ethernet, you know, so those kind of things are really taking off. And one thing you want to remember is just about everything you do in life, there's an electrician that was behind the scenes. If it was, you know, you're going to have friends, maybe they're going to be computer programmers. Well, an electrician helped to bring that power there so he can plug that computer in. You may have friends that are going to get into the healthcare industry. Just know that there's an electrician that brought all that power into those, you know, hospital rooms, surgery rooms. And, you know, so anything that you do, you can bet pretty much that there's any career path out there just about has had an electrician behind it some way or another. So anyway, it's a great one, and it continues to stay strong and grow. We're more and more in need of electricians in the field as more and more people are retiring. It's been a good wage, and you know, most electricians on average in the state of Oklahoma are at about $27 an hour for a journeyman electrician. You get some that are more skilled and in a specialized area, they can see upwards of $40 an hour. So it's been a very good trade, and it's definitely a career that has a multitude of options for the proper skill set. So.
Ron, this is Chelsea. Thank you for sharing that. That was extensive and just very knowledgeable. I wanted to open it up now if we have any questions from our students. If so, feel free to ask Ron.
There you go.
What is your insurance cover?
I'm sorry?
What is your insurance cover?
Our insurance, if you come to work for our agency?
Yes, sir.
Well, as a state of Oklahoma employee, we have a real good insurance plan, of course, and retirement plans, but the state workers get they get a medical, dental, vision plan. So we have a really good system set up here as a state of Oklahoma employee. Did that cover your question for you?
Thank you. Yes, sir.
You're welcome.
Are there any questions for my Ketchum STEM students?
Let's see. Yeah, we have one in here, and they're asking, what's the likelihood of being able to travel as in this career profession?
Oh, that's a great question. Yeah, as far as being able to travel, it kind of depends on, you know, what area you get into. Guys that are in electrical distribution, overhead power lines, they do a lot of traveling, especially when there's, you know, disasters, hurricane areas, they can travel there. As far as a regular electrician, if a person wants to be a regular journeyman electrician and work on commercial type projects or whatever, there's a lot of groups out there, a lot of places where they work in multiple states, and you know, you can travel a lot if you want. Myself, I was kind of a family man, and I wanted to stay close to my family, so there's a lot of options for that. If a person wants to just stick around, there's a lot of job opportunities available here in Oklahoma as well if a person didn't want to travel.
And then are there any questions for my Quinton Public School students? If so, please use the chat box. And while they're doing that, Fort Supply, did you have any more questions? Or did anyone have any more questions?
How is your workplace environment? Are there snacks provided?
Is it very diverse there?
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you hardly.
Ron, she wants to know if the work environment is very diverse. What does that look like?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it definitely is. And, you know, I mean, the people that you're around, the things you run into, I mean, if you're a people person, you're going to love it. If you're not a people person, you can still do very well in it. So it's a great trade to get into. There is a lot of different options. You can go work for some little small mom and pop shop if you just want to be the only guy there on the totem pole. Or you can go work in a large company. There's companies here that operate in Oklahoma that are in multiple states and have thousands of employees and really have a lot of options for anybody that wants to get out there and do that.
Thank you, Ron. And I'm just doing a follow-up question. Do you see a lot of women in the workforce in the area of construction?
We're seeing a lot more of them, actually. Something I didn't mention is I actually do application reviews here for the state of Oklahoma for individuals to be able to take their test. And we're seeing a big increase in women that are submitting applications to become journeyman electrician and contractors even. So yeah, it's really starting to increase the numbers there.
Well, thank you, Ron. It looks like that was all the time we have for questions, and hopefully all the students had a chance to ask one. We thank you so much, Ron, for joining us today, and all of my students, Ketchum, Quinton, and Fort Supply, thank you so much. We hope you join us tomorrow as we're going to hear about the industry of service, and so it'll be a representative from Hertz. Again, if you're interested in construction, this webinar has been recorded and will be housed on our online platform. So everyone have a wonderful day, and thank you again for joining us. Bye.
Thank you. Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Okay, everybody say bye.